I'm Stacey.
I'm Jenny.
And this is Learning for Life,
a homeschool podcast.
We are two homeschoolers who use different methods, curriculum, and strategies to make it all work.
Our goal is to help parents teach kids how to develop a lifelong love of learning. Welcome back to the Learning for Life podcast. I am so excited about this one. We are talking with Kim, who is the founder of Youth Inspired Publishing. You might remember Kim from our episode in season 1 about their illustration contest, and we are going to be talking to Kim today about how to encourage creativity in kids.
If you are new here, welcome. We are so happy to have you. Jenny and I are your hosts, and we love to talk about all things that help you instill a love of learning in your children. You can see all of our resources, even those show notes for this episode at kidslearningforlife.com.
All right, let's talk about our first repeat guests, Youth Inspired Publishing. So they had an art contest last year, and we promoted it on a podcast, and we got to talk to Kim and her sister Erin, who are the co-founders of Youth Inspired Publishing. Today we are going to talk to just Kim, and she has all the details for this year's illustration contests.
We are so excited to be a part of this competition again. My kids are just besides themselves. At the time when the first competition came out, we were reading Boxcar Children and Magic Tree House. And so they were so used to, after one book being done, there's another one for you to keep enjoying the experience with those characters. But for this one, we got to the end and they're like, okay, let's read the next one. And I'm like, it hasn't even come out yet. So we are just besides ourselves to be able to continue our adventure with the Hidden Hollow series.
Yeah, so the Hidden Hollow 5 series is a mystery series geared towards kids. And we talk about this a little bit in the episode with Kim, but I just want to stress that they're super kid friendly, nothing's too scary or inappropriate, and it's just a very wholesome series, and I think they're really well written. So I'm really excited to download this second book because my kids love a good mystery. They're big Nancy Drew fans, and it's along those lines of that kind of book. So if your kids are at all interested in mystery stories, or even just interested in illustration or just art, this is the perfect contest for you.
Yeah, the art aspect is really, really fun, just because after you read it, there are no illustrations. And so you go ahead and read the book. You can read it out loud to your kids. Your kids can read it on their own. And then at the end, they can go and they can draw what they think should be the chapter title or the cover of the book. And then they get to submit it. And then the author will select the winners. So if you want to see examples of what was previously selected, you can go to the Youth Inspired Publishing website and see all of the contest winners from the first book to kind of give your kids a diving board of ideas to get ready for this next book and contest.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, do you think we should roll the tape with Kim?
Oh, let's do it. Welcome back, Kim. We are so happy to have you on the podcast, and you are our first repeat guest. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me back.
We are so excited to talk to you again. You and your sister Erin were two of our favorite guests from our first season, so we are thrilled. Thanks for being here again. So today we are going to be talking about, how to keep kids creative and how to encourage creativity in our kids. And then, of course, we will be getting into all the details for the next Youth Inspired Publishing illustration contest. So all of that is coming right up. But first, I would like to talk about creativity. So I guess the first question that we should probably tackle here is, why do you think kids need to be creative?
Well, great question. I think that this is kind of a hot topic, especially in this very tech-driven world where I feel like our kids are sort of handed things very easily, especially when it comes to entertainment. And I think that for me, creativity first off means growth, right? I think everyone needs to be creative, including adults, everybody, right? I mean, whatever that creative outlet is, right? For me, I work full time, but Youth Inspired Publishing, this is my creative outlet. This is where I grow, and put that energy into. And I think kids obviously need it more than anybody too. I mean, they need to create, they need to grow. But I think a really big issue with kids today, we always talk about when we were younger, it's like I didn't have TV. I got bored a lot. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then through boredom, you start to create, right? I mean, some of my most creative moments as, when I was a kid was when I was bored and then I had to just figure things out. I had to figure out how to have fun, how to be entertained. And I think that unfortunately, our kids don't have that opportunity to get bored very often anymore, right? I mean,
Totally.
they have phones, electronics, and it's just everything is there. Even as adults, it's like it's hard to get bored anymore because we're just so entertained everywhere you look. And so I think that it is just incredibly important that kids still, and we give our kids these opportunities to be creative. And it doesn't mean that that can't be in a tech way either, right? But we just have to be really cognizant of creating opportunity for creativity.
I completely agree. And there's this whole like movement I've seen on Instagram and just all social media is like, let kids be bored because they
Yeah.
need that time and that space to grow. Like they can't constantly be having like input fed to them.
Yeah, exactly. No, I could not agree more. And I have little kids myself. I have a
Hmm.
5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And it's really challenging because just giving them an iPad and watching a show, I mean, it's so easy. It's the
Right.
easy button. You know what I mean? It is
Hmm.
like fives like when they're all screaming, it's like, oh my goodness. But it's really something that my husband and I try super hard to do is to not always just go down that path. Do we go down that path sometimes? Absolutely. If I'm in the car,
Yeah.
you get the iPad, and then it actually works. They love it, and it's right there and accessible. But I could not agree more. It's just that input. Yeah, we need to let our kids be bored. I love how you said that.
Yeah, and I agree. The whole technology thing, it makes things so easy. Like in this time in my life, I'm so busy. My husband is so busy that my kids aren't like watching TV all day, but like at night, I kind of just need to rest my mind.
I
And so
know. I
putting on the
know.
TV and like watching a show with them or while I'm doing dishes, it's like, okay, at least I know they're just like sitting there. But
I know. I
it's
know.
so hard. It's like you also don't want to beat yourself up about it. But luckily, I mean,
No, no.
I
It's a
think what's
struggle. That's a balance.
I exactly. And I think it's like naturally in our favor as parents that kids are kind of naturally creative.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're way better. They can come up with anything. If you
Hmm.
give them the chance, right? You give them the chance to create and grow. They will. I mean, they're just naturally, we're all born. Like I said, I think we all need to create, and I think kids obviously have the best imaginations in the
Hmm.
world, right?
Yeah.
So I would agree with that.
Yeah. So I want to know from you, especially because you have younger kids, and I kind of have younger kids too because I still have a toddler. How do you encourage creativity in your kids?
And just throw them outside. Just kidding.
I know, huh?
Just get them outside. I mean, honestly, pretend play, when can get the energy to do it, right? Like actually, I think that anything pretend, right? Like house. I mean, my husband's like, it's funny. He'll do it. He'll play house. It's like his least favorite thing in the world. And of course, my girls want to play house with him, dolls with him, like the
Yes.
most. But honestly, I think pretend play, especially with my little kids at their age, I think is the best. It's just like, it's just a balance of like when can I get the energy to do that, playing games. I mean, and I totally, I mean, the TV's great, but it's just they're not gonna use their imaginations as much, right? So I
Right.
think for me, pretend play, dress up, they do fashion shows, anything that kind of sparks that, I think. What about you guys?
Yeah, my kids are 7, 6, and then I have a 2-year old. And so the
Mm-hmm.
7 and 6-year old, I mean, the toddler kind of gets in the way of this, but the
Yeah.
7 and the 6-year old could literally just sit around and draw all day long. And I know
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
Stacey's sons
yeah,
is like that too. And
yeah.
so like that's why we love your art contests so much because it's like they need
Mm-hmm.
an outlet for this. Like sometimes kids do well with a little bit of direction, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, but my kids just love to draw, and my older daughter now is really starting to like write sentences, or
Hmm.
like she's even written Magic Treehouse fan fiction. Like
Oh, that's really cool.
she's like making her own Magic Treehouse stories. So yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
that's really cool.
as long as you're, I don't know, it's I know it's hard to turn off the technology and it's hard to like let go of control all day, but like honestly, if you just kind of let go,
Mm-hmm.
they'll they'll find their own ways to make their own fun, and there might be some grumbling at first, I've noticed. Like sometimes we do like technology detox and it's hard for the first day or two, and then it's like, oh, they're fine. Like they're actually better than they were. So yeah, I don't know. What about you, Stacey?
Yeah, I mean, I totally love to just have my kids go outside. I recently moved out to a more rural area, and it's like my favorite part is being able to say, go outside. They've got 5 acres and they could be anywhere on the 5 acres and just play. And so I've seen them pick up sticks and start digging with them. I've seen them climb trees. We've been starting to read Harry Potter, so I see them with sticks outside and saying spells. So I feel like what you said about kids being bored is totally just what kids need sometimes.
Yeah, kids just love to be outside. And yeah, something about being outside just encourages so much creativity in them. So, I mean, as long as the weather's good, and we're going into like these bad weather months, so we're really going to have to store up all of that outside creativity. Okay, let's get into a little bit about youth-inspired publishing and what you guys are up to right now. So I hear you have a new illustration contest starting, or it's actually going on now, right?
Yep, we just launched book 2 in the Hidden Hollow 5 series. So that's live now, and that'll go until the end of November. So that follows on the first book from our first illustration contest.
Cool.
So that opportunity is there for kids right now.
And it's the same thing as the first one, where they could win. They could be chosen as for each chapter, there's an illustration chosen, and then there's also one chosen for the cover, correct?
Exactly. So kids can download, or parents can download the book for their kids online for free, and then read the book, and then there'll be a cover winner, which will get a $500 Amazon gift card, and then we pick about 1 to 2 chapter illustrations, depending on the chapter and whatever we decide. It's really up to the author. So the author, in collaboration with us, will choose the illustrations based on what we get. And then each of those winners will get a $100 Amazon gift card.
Great. And can you just tell our listeners really quick a little bit about the Hidden Hollow 5 series and even your connection with the books?
Sure. Yeah. So, I kind of went over this in the first podcast, but the book series is actually my dad's. So he wrote these actually over 20 years ago. They're updated now, but he used to tell us stories when we were little. He's just been a lifelong storyteller, and he used to tell my sister and I these stories before bed, and they just sort of evolved into this book series. And he wrote the first book actually with my sister and co-founder Aaron, and they wrote the entire first book together. And then he just had a lot of struggles with publishing the book, and this was 20 plus years ago, when you had to send the book in the mail, and and even this genre of book and age group book wasn't as popular as it is now. And so it's always just been sitting there. And I kind of came up with the idea for the illustration contest and to get it published in that way, because I mean, it is hard. It's a market that's saturated with these types of books. And I thought, you know what? And he was very open to, if it gets published, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. At this point, it was just sort of a written series. And he said, Kim, you can do whatever you want with it. And so I said, well, I believe in it. I think it's an adorable series. Has 2 strong female characters in it. And it's basically Aaron and Kim, which is my sister and I. We moved to a new town and basically just get into all of these adventures and mysteries. And then we end up in the second book meeting 3 more kids and friends, and that kind of creates the Hidden Hollow 5 group that, again, kind of just finds themselves in the middle of these, wholesome mysteries that they have to solve. And that's kind of the series in a nutshell.
And now let's take a quick break.
Teaching kids to read is one of the first things that parents are concerned about when teaching their kids. Even though I have my teaching credential, I still needed to rely on a good curriculum to help teach my kids to read. Then I found All About Reading. This program had everything I needed to teach my children to learn, all laid out in an orderly manner. There are several components to this program that includes lesson plans, flashcards, letter tiles, beginner readers, and hands-on activities. And I was able to try it all to see what worked best for my children. If you are struggling to get your child to read, Jenny and I encourage you to give All About Reading a try. We both credit our kids' first interest in reading to All About Reading, and we think your kids will love it too. They have 5 different levels with placement guides online. So what are you waiting for? Check out our link in the show notes to see if All About Reading will work for your kiddos. And now, back to the show.
Well, I'm excited to read this second book with my kids. And I said this in the first podcast episode, which I'll link to in the show notes. So in case you missed that, you can go back and listen to that. But I want to just vouch for like the quality and the wholesomeness of these books. Like they're really super appropriate, even for younger kids. And it's not one of these books where like characters are like fighting or misbehaving or being rude to adults or anything. Like just, it's very positive, I feel like. And I really appreciate about these books. And I mean, not to mention, they're just very well written. And I'm surprised your dad is just not like widely published already. So the books are just great.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, but he's so creative. I mean, I watched him write the third one, and it just like flows right out of him. He just tinkers there, and just comes right out. But that's just his storytelling, his creativity. That's where his outlet is. And I would agree with you. I think that's why I believe in the book so much, because they are just so age appropriate.
Right.
Like you said, wholesome. They're just clean mysteries. And I think that sometimes we're missing that in some of the stuff today. Like we try and get so complicated, and we get so, we kind of have, kind of strayed away a little bit in some places from just some of those really just nice mysteries, kind of like the Nancy Drew mysteries. You know what I mean? Like from our time, like these are, I would say these are almost kind of similar to that. Just, you could feel really good as a parent that you don't need to read it beforehand to make sure that it's going to be okay.
Right.
There's going to be nothing in there.
Yeah, definitely.
I
mean, I know I really appreciated that when I was reading it with my boys is, it was just simple.
Yeah.
And then also I've noticed on your website, Kim, that there's more than just these art contests going on now. Would you be able to share what some of these other things are that you have?
Sure. So we just got done with the pilot of our art evaluation service. So what this is kids, again, just providing, like you said, your sons love to draw, but sometimes it's hard, like they don't really have a purpose, right? It's like, well, they're just drawing, but we wanted to give kids a reason to draw, right? An opportunity that could be exciting for them to sit down and really create their own masterpiece or whatever it is that's inside of them that they want to get out on paper or painting or whatever medium it is. And so the art evaluation service, which will be launching here soon, is essentially it'll be for a fee, because we want serious artists, right? We want these kids to, and their parents just, have a serious piece of art want to be evaluated. And what we do is we've collaborated. Our first collaboration is with, her name is She Sassone. I don't know if I said that right, but I can give you the link.
Sure.
She's actually a really talented watercolor artist and designer. And so what she did is we had a girl do an oil painting. And what we do is we collaborate with an artist that specializes in whatever art we get, and they will evaluate the art and provide some positive supportive feedback, with whatever it is, with the art piece. And then the kids will receive that via mail. So they'll have something tangible that they'll be able to keep.
Oh, cool.
And it just creates something for them to be encouraged. Like, wow, this artist, she has over 100,000 followers on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, wow, she evaluated my art, and this is what she thinks about it. And this is where I have some areas that she thought was amazing, maybe some areas of improvement. Wow, I'm so empowered. I want to do more. And then along with that, we also collaborate with those artists to decide if the art is eligible for potentially one of our limited edition art series. So if we do choose the artist, their art will be copyrighted and will be produced into a limited edition art series. Our first one is, for instance, 100 prints. And so those will be the only 100 prints of that art ever. I think what's really cool about it is there's so many things that this does for a child, right? It builds their portfolio, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get their first art commission, and hopefully they just feel empowered to do so much more. And then for the people that want to
Wow.
buy it, I mean, you have no idea this child could be the next famous artist. You know what I
Right.
mean? You just don't know. So you can own one of these pieces of art uh, from one of these kids that you have no idea if 10 years from now could be, an incredibly famous artist. And can you imagine what that's worth now? So
Mm-hmm.
it could be potentially an investment. And the prints itself, they come from a place. We like to support local businesses, probably because my sister also owns a ton of local businesses, but this really world-class print shop in Oshkosh, we partnered with them, and their printing is just phenomenal. And we created this packaging that's all on archival paper. It'll come in an archival sleeve, meaning regardless if you decide to hang the painting right away or you want to keep it, tucked away, it'll remain timeless forever. So it'll come with a certificate of authenticity, and yeah, I just think it's a really cool opportunity for the child artist, for the person that's buying the art, and I'm just excited to be a part of all of the collaborations.
Well, that is just an amazing program that you guys have developed. I don't know, I just think that's so inspiring and I'm really excited about that. But I have a question about do you have future illustration contests coming up that are not live yet, but will be soon for, future artists of America?
We do. So I have a children's book series. It's an alphabet book called Rhymimals. It's by Sarah Wadel, and it what I like about this contest is each letter has an animal with sort of a spunky story. She's a mom herself and was just getting very bored of all of the kind of bland books that she reads her kids. So what's fun
Mm-hmm.
about this series is it's fun for the parent to read and the child. And she tries to use a lot of new vocabulary too that would maybe make kids like, what is that word? Or I've
Mm.
never heard of that, to spur on some conversation. And they're just sort of silly and funny. But what I like about this contest, especially for those that are really more wanting to just do the art piece of it, my dad's books are a little bit lengthy, so you really have to invest some time into reading it. These are very quick stories. So you could read them in a minute and then start creating art right away.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I think that this will be a really fun series. And we're going to do a contest for each letter. So A
Oh.
will have its own illustrator, B will have its own illustrator, and you'll win a prize for, creating the illustrations for that letter and story,
And
if
when
that
does
makes
that
sense.
contest happen? Do you
So we
know?
haven't put a official launch date, but I would say in the next month or so, I
Okay.
think that we could. We're just finishing up some details with the author, but I would think in the next 30 to 60 days it'll definitely be out and launched.
Oh, cool. Is there a way, or is there on your website like a place where people can see upcoming or current and upcoming contests?
So we have two major websites. Yipublishing.com is more of our products and the art where you can purchase. And then youthinspirepublishing.com is now sort of our main site to run all the contests. But if you go to either one of those and you just press art contest, it'll bring you to a page that will show you either what's current or what's upcoming and
Perfect.
potential dates.
I love that. And I like the idea of that, like the alphabet book type thing, because like you
Mm-hmm.
said, like the other one is a great book. The Hidden Hollow 5 books are really good, but they are longer. And also for like younger kids who might want to get
Mm-hmm.
involved,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they don't have the skills to like draw a building in the right dimension and perspective, you know what
Sure.
I mean? So
Yes.
I think maybe like a little bit more abstract could incorporate, younger kids' talents as well, which would be
Mm-hmm.
really cool to see. I loved on your social media how you guys were posting like all of the different entries, even the honorable mentions, because that was really inspiring. I think even to like Stacey's son who entered, it was
Yeah.
like a really good indicator of like, okay, this is like the quality that other kids are providing and like what kids can strive for, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, my son was on cloud nine because I was able to
Oh,
show him. I'm
really?
like, oh
Oh.
look, they put all the runners up, and like he's just like, that's mine. Like I did that, and so it was just really fun for him to see that. So that was really great of you guys to not only show the winners, but to kind of highlight some of the other contestants as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually remember your son's drawing because he was actually one of the youngest contestants. And my dad
Yeah.
was actually really impressed. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
he was like for his age, because not everyone was a runner-up by any means. Like he was very choosy about even the runner-ups, but he chose, I think, your son's because he was one of the youngest ones. And he's like, look at, he like actually the dimensions on things.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's actually, my dad's an architect, so he was actually really impressed. It was
Oh,
cool.
hey, that makes
Nice. I'll
sense.
have to tell him that.
That makes sense that he's an architect because like he has so much description about like the building and the
So
house.
much.
That is
He
so
does.
interesting. I love learning about authors because yeah, you see what they know reflected in their work.
Yep.
Before we get to your recommendation of the week, is there anything
Mhm.
else that you'd like to promote that Youth Inspired Publishing is working on or doing right now?
No, I mean, I think we covered it all.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just, check back on our website. And like I said, that art review service, if you have a young artist out there that may be interested in that, that'll be going live in the next month, I would say. And yeah, our contest coming up and everything. So yeah.
Exciting. Okay, well, do you have a recommendation of the week for our audience?
So yeah, you know what? I kind of wanted to go with the theme of creativity. And it's actually something I think that Aaron and I think about a lot. And so there was this actually, we thought of this TED Talk that we had seen. It's by Mitch Resnick, but he actually has an article, which I'll give you so you can put it in the show notes.
Oh,
But
cool.
it's basically 10 tips for cultivating creativity in your kids. And what I like about the article is he really provides very sort of concise, tangible examples of how you can sort of facilitate creativity. And I think one of the quotes I like, he says, there's a common misconception that the best way to encourage children's creativity is simply to get out of the way and let them be creative.
Hmm.
But he says, actually, that's not true. Like you actually do need to facilitate some things. You need to encourage things. I mean, and one of the examples he gives, for instance, is like show examples to spark ideas. And I think
Hmm.
that's what we're trying to do at Youth Inspired Publishing is like, yeah, you like to draw, great, but like let's give you other examples. Let's push you to do something. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I think that sometimes kids need that, right?
Yeah,
We
just a
all
little
need
bit of
that in some
direction,
way.
just so there's some
Yes,
sort of
exactly.
inspiration, and that's what I love about what you guys do. Because, like I said, like our kids would draw all day, but Stacy's son entered the contest with a very specific vision in mind, and that's kind of a skill that you need to have in everyday life, or like with a career or anything,
Yeah.
like any sort of project you're working on. You have to have some sort of actual goal.
Exactly. No, and you're right. And I think that we saw this happen even in the first contest. So we didn't give kids much direction. We said, you know what, draw illustrations for the books. And it was really interesting. We actually got a lot of feedback like, well, what is the author thinking about this or that? And so actually we didn't really get a cover that the author wanted. And I think you guys were part of that because your son submitted for the contest. So what we said is, you know what, we're going to email all of the contestants that have already submitted, and we're actually going to show them a picture of kind of what my dad's thought of the house was. And we actually got so much more specific
Hmm.
type of artwork, right? Because kids had like something, just something to start with. And so actually for this next contest, we learned from that. And I was like, well, Dad, can you find some pictures of this? This one's called The Mystery of the Oak Smells. Like, can you get me a picture of the mill that you're thinking of? You know what I mean? Give
Yeah,
kids a little bit of something, and then he's going to get a lot more back that he wants, right? That he's
totally.
he's envisioning. So, I mean, I was thinking about that
Yes.
even with that example. It's like you just have to give kids a little something, and then it's like, whoa, flourish. So, anyway, yeah, I'll give you
Yeah,
guys
that
this.
picture was so helpful for
Yes,
for my
yeah.
son especially. But he was already because I think when you guys sent out that you were gonna be redoing the cover, that his was kind of like the closest to what you were imagining, and what we ended up doing for his initial artwork was going online and like googling
Yeah,
like old timey like Victorian stuff, and so he just kind of picked from there,
sure.
which it was just really funny that I was like, oh wow, so like this is the house they were envisioning, which was similar but totally like it was just really great
Yeah,
to have a starting point for him.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I look forward to watching that TED Talk. I feel like I've seen a lot of TED Talks, but I don't think I've seen that one. So that sounds really interesting. Yeah, so I think that's it for the day. We're really,
Okay,
really excited
great.
to have talked to you today, and we're looking
Yeah.
forward to, letting our audience know about the new illustration contest. Thanks for talking to us today, Kim.
Yeah, you
Thank
guys, thank you
you.
so much. Have a great day.
I am so glad we were able to chat with Kim again about that contest. Are your kids as excited as mine, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's a whole year later than the first one, so I think they're going to be a lot more ready. But I am making more time for read alouds this year, so I definitely anticipate us being able to do this book together, or even like my older daughter could potentially be able to read it on her own. Like, she loved the first book. So she's like my little Nancy Drew in a 7-year-old's body. So I'm really excited. I cannot wait to see like where this story goes. And I also think, Stacey, I love that they have this like whole art program where like an artist will review a student's work. Like, I think that is so cool.
Yeah, no, I was so interested in that. In the first time they came on in our podcast, I think they briefly mentioned that was like, just getting, like they were just starting to form that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like actually coming to light and they've actually started doing it. So I'm really interested, once they do a few more, and, I'm sure like my oldest son might actually be interested in submitting it.
Yeah, totally. Well, we just wanted to, I guess, wrap things up here and say thank you to everyone who has rated and reviewed this podcast. We put a lot of love into it, and we would just love if you could give us 5 stars and maybe even write a little blurb about your thoughts about the podcast, just so we can see that it makes our hearts happy.
Yes, and if you have any questions, we love to hear from you. So you can reach us at kidslearningforlife@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and you can even check out our YouTube channel where we have tons more videos all on the topic of homeschooling. So be sure to check that out as well.
And with that, it's time to say, see you next time.
See you next time. Oh, sorry.
I'll keep that. I'm going to keep that.
Oh, jeez.